So we can see it only took 1 minute and 3 seconds for our Cosmos DB account to be created. Let's click on the Go to Resource button. Now I'll come back to the quick start. We'll go back to the overview for a second because we can see that since we enabled the georeplication, it's got us in Canada East and Canada Central, and the right locations only in Canada East. I'm going to minimize this, and we can see this cool map kind of shows us where the regions of replication are. It's not that difficult to set up additional points of the world where you can replicate your data. So if you have a database, like I said, if you have a mobile app that's going to have hundreds of thousands or millions of installs, and you think, well, it would be good to have my data in North America, in South America, in Europe, in India, in China, in Australia, then you can certainly set that up. Now, China itself is, you need a separate relationship with the Chinese version of Azure for that, but Japan and other places are certainly accessible to you. Okay. Now let's go back to the quick start. We can see here Microsoft is setting us up with, we can create some basically dummy data. We can create the items collection and estimates 3 cents per hour hourly bill. It's actually pretty cool that it tells us here. So we can basically get our collection going and download a sample app to experiment with it if we wanted to go that route. Now we're going to go into the collections section. So right now we have an account, but right now we don't have any databases, nor do we have any collections, right? So we have an account, but we don't actually have anything in it. So there's sort of two layers of data within Cosmos DB. First of all, we're going to have to create a database and then put a collection inside of it. So I'm going to say add collection. So doing that brings up this add collection blade, and we have a number of values to parse out here. So first up, we have to give the database a name. Remember, there's two levels within the Cosmos DB account. That is the database and the collections. You can have multiple collections inside of a single database. So I'm going to call this main DB. This is a very generic name. Now, there is a checkbox right within here where we can basically request throughput limits onto the main database. If I click it, it opens up this throughput option at the database level, and it sets it at 50,000 request units per second. The big caveat is here. Putting it at this level is going to cost us $4 per hour or $96 per day. Now this is probably going to add up to something like $2,500 to $3,000 at the end of the month. So I do not want to provision it at this level. But now that going down to a collection level, we'll get down here in a second, we can see that what it's requesting is still $20 a day. So after 30 days is still around $600. It's still not super cheap. We can reduce that. So we've given the database a name MainDB, and we're going to create the employee table. Okay, so this is the collection of data that's going to be in the Cosmos DB. Now we do need to define a partition key. The partition key, similar to storage tables, is going to be used by Cosmos DB to intelligently divide the data between servers if the data gets too big. Now, Microsoft, if you do the hover over, recommends that you choose a property that has a wide range of values and will likely be evenly distributed. So let's look at an idea where in a company, maybe you have your employees evenly split among 4 or 5 different offices. So maybe the partition key is the office, the office label, whether it's Toronto, Tokyo, New York, whatever. That could be a good partition key because then you can divide the data equally into multiple locations. The example given here is zip code. So it's another example where within the postal system in the United States, people are going to be fairly evenly distributed except for some very small limits across zip codes, right? Now, so in this case, I'm going to say job title. Now, it might not be, there's only one CEO, But for the vast majority of the company, there might be some even distribution between people who are, you know, sales persons, customer service persons, developers, etc. This is just an example here. Now it's asking us to define the throughput at the collection level. I'm going to go for the minimum. So 400 is the minimum. And we can see here that's going to accumulate 77 cents per day, which is probably $20 at the end of the month. So there's still some fees that are going to be accumulated as soon as I click the OK button here. Finally, it's asking me to create, if I want to have unique keys. So unique keys is just as it sounds, the same with any relational database. If I say that there's I want to make sure that the employee ID is unique, then this is going to basically enforce the uniqueness of this field throughout this collection. I'm not going to end up doing that. I'm just going to click OK. So now it says creating new collection employee for database main DB. It's going to take a second to do that. And that's how long it takes. Right. So now I have a Cosmos database within this account, and there is one collection. Now, of course, there's absolutely no data in here. And we can see here that it supports triggers, the functions, stored procedures, very similar to a SQL Server database in some of those features. In the next set of videos, we're going to talk about interacting with this Cosmos DB using Visual Studio.